Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly. On this episode, I'm joined by Phil Montano, the founder of Artisan Angler and the creator of great angling accessories like the fly trap. Phil shares his fly fishing journey, his career as a wrestler, and the genesis of his company. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. But before we get to the interview, just a couple of housekeeping items. If you like the podcast, please tell a friend and please subscribe and leave us a rating and review in the podcatcher of your choice. It really helps us out. And as we continue to create and distribute more diverse content, you may want to consider downloading our iOS or our Android app. We organize our content by category so you can go straight to the content that interests you the most. The apps are free and the links are in the show notes. Alternatively, just search The Articulate Fly where you get your mobile apps. Now, on to the interview. Well, Phil, welcome to The Articulate Fly.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really looking forward to our conversation. I think I literally had a tickler to interview you from the 2019 IFTD show in Denver.
Really? Well, sorry we missed out on that.
Yeah, it's just, COVID happened, right?
Yeah. COVID happened to a lot of people.
Yeah, because I can't remember if I ran into you the last time I was at the fly fishing show, the consumer show, the Forimsky show in Denver, but I definitely remember meeting you at IFTD the last time they had it. And, you know, one of the traditions we have on the Articulate Fly, Phil, is we always like to ask our guests to share their earliest fishing memory.
Oh, boy. Yeah. My dad was a big fisherman. And so the Montano boys were always learning from Pops, and he taught us how to spin fish pretty much, right out of the gate. I'd say he took us to the Arkansas River a lot between Canyon City and I'd say Buena Vista. So that whole stretch of Arkansas was his favorite place to go, and he would take us camping and fishing there, and that to me is basically where I honed my skills and grew up loving the outdoors and fishing.
Yeah, very neat. When did you come to the dark side of fly fishing?
Oh boy, that was about 12, 13 years ago. I had. Growing up a spin fisherman, my dad would always just have the funniest jokes about fly fishermen. And so we didn't really think much of it. And, my dad, us and a spin rod, it was a sure thing. Like we could catch fish no matter what. Skunk did not, wasn't in our vocabulary. My dad was just a phenomenal angler. But my brother Matt, my second youngest brother Matt, got into fly fishing with his buddy Dan, and they did it for years, many, many years before I got into it. And he sucked me over to the dark side, and it's been great. But it's always a hard transition going from a sure thing, a sure catch to okay, now you start over and basically, not catch fish for a while until I figure this out.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because when I switched over, I was really kind of scared to go back to a spin fishing rod because I was afraid it was going to mess up my fly casting.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I was like, got the wrist out of it. I don't want to get the wrist back in it. And I was like, gosh, if I pick up a spinning rod, I'm going to start snapping that wrist again.
Well, it's like riding a bike, it's such a fun sport, but they're just worlds apart. Such respect and love for both of them. I haven't spin fished in quite some time. Every time we're on a lake somewhere, I'll pull it out, but nothing hardcore. Just got to get it wet, and that's about it.
Yeah. And so on your fly fishing journey, who are some of the folks that mentored you and what did they teach you?
Well, I kind of got into it. I started getting into it on my own, like researching gear and where I could learn how to cast and things like that. And so I took a casting class. I bought some, inexpensive gear. And then I started hitting up my brother Matt and his buddy Dan. And they taught me pretty much everything, all the basics. And man, one of the most frustrating things, my brother's a yeller. Like he yells at you if you're not doing something right. So for about the first 2 years straight, all he did was yell at me what I was doing wrong. But he's been invaluable with me learning.
Yeah, that's funny. He either should be a high school football coach or should maybe be a guy down in the Keys and yell at people.
Right. He would have been a pretty good coach. He means well. You just have to kind of let it roll off of you. And forget the fact that he's your younger brother. So that was a challenge.
Yeah, there you go. And so, as you kind of got deeper into the fly fishing world, did your favorite places to fish in Colorado kind of change for you a little bit?
Well, yes, they did. The Arkansas has a lot of aggressive brown, and it's not stopped being my favorite place. Like, I still love going back. There's just, it just opens up so many more doors with fly fishing for me. And I fish all over Colorado. Some of my favorite places, like I said, are the Arkansas. There's so many parts of the Arkansas that stretch through Colorado. And I love 11 Mile Canyon, the Dream Stream. There's so many great places. I honestly can't say that I have a favorite. It's that tough.
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly lucky where you are. I mean, you've got a lot of water and a lot of different water.
Yes, and the scenery is just, for me, it's the whole package, right? I don't want to go to just some destination to catch fish. I want the entire experience. And Colorado is for the all-around experience.
Yeah, it's interesting too, Phil, because I can remember coming to Denver on business in the mid-'90s, and the one thing that always struck me was how you could really tell how much people that lived in Denver loved living in Colorado.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if it's in your blood, you're never going to leave. The winters seem to be getting longer as I get older, but it's my home. I was born and raised, and I couldn't live anywhere else. 300 days of sunshine a year is unbeatable. That's a whole lot more fishing time than in some places. Yeah,
absolutely. And, shifting gears just a little bit, I know that kind of your day job, you have a design company, and I was kind of curious, when did you become interested in art and design?
Well, growing up, we've been, into creative outlets for, forever. And, it was just part of us. My mom was an artist. She was a poet. My dad was a mechanic. So he was very resourceful and created things and made things work. And, I think that combination just, from our earliest days, got me interested in being creative in one way or another. And throughout school, art class was always one of our favorites for all of my brothers and I. We excelled in art, and, a few of us do it to this day and have been lucky enough to make a living out of it.
Very neat. And who are some, I guess, kind of two questions. I mean, I'd be really interested to hear about some of the people that mentored you on your art journey, but also kind of some of the artists that have influenced your work.
Yeah. So, all of my teachers growing up, I mean, they were my biggest mentors and influencers. Like they just, they had a passion, and I could see it. I could feel it. And most of the kids that stuck with it, still really cherish those relationships we developed with some of our teachers. I had a teacher in high school who really helped me excel and pick a path, actually, with my art skills. And his name was Phil Law. He was just, all around phenomenal person, and gave it his all to his students. And I think I really have a lot of thanks that needs to go to Phil Law. But yeah, he's just one, but there's so many in college. There was Martin Engelstadt and Rory Bonnet and Mike Luttrell. There was just these instructors were just phenomenal, and they didn't skip a beat and knew what you were good at, and helped you hone your skills. And it was a great experience.
Yeah, really neat. And how about artists that influenced you stylistically?
Oh my goodness. My style has changed so much, but back in the day when I was kind of worshiping artists and designers, let me think here. David Carson was a great graphic designer. Alphonse Mucha was into Art Deco. I loved his style. Like, Matisse. There's just so many that influenced me in different ways that I don't know that it really affects my work or me in my work today, but it certainly motivated me and excited me, and made me want to do much more.
Yeah, very neat. And you just mentioned earlier that your style evolved. How has it evolved kind of over your, kind of as an artist in high school and now into a designer?
Well, it's definitely more refined. It takes quite a while to go from, doing hand done work. Like when I was in college in the late 80s, everything was done by hand. So you had to work in the dark room, you had to manually expose photography, and you had to do line work with rapidograph pens and cut amberlith and rubylith to make masks and things like that. And the craziest part is all of that now is obsolete. So I think transitioning from doing everything by hand to all digital and relearning everything on the computer was quite the transition for me. So, and that even changes your style of design, because it's just so much cleaner, so much more refined and precise. But it took years to basically reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because you talk to younger people that are using like Photoshop or something like that, and they don't even know that dodge and burn was actually a thing you did in the darkroom.
Yes, exactly.
They're like, why do you call it that? I was like, well, because it was actually a thing, right?
Yeah, it's still a great thing. I still use that tool every single day.
Yeah, that's funny. And, it's interesting. As I was doing research for our interview, you've had an opportunity to really work with some great brands. You want to kind of let our listeners know some of the folks you've been able to work with over your design career?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I started off designing T-shirts commercially, and believe it or not, Bolle sunglasses became a T-shirt account for our company. And one of the marketing directors was like, we need to pull this guy away from here and hire him. So I actually went directly to work with Bolle sunglasses, Bolle eyewear, in the late 80s, early 90s, and was with Bolle for 7 years, I believe it was, art director. So that was quite the takeoff. I went to an advertising agency after that and worked on, all the Coors brands, Coke, Cybex fitness equipment, Denver Art Museum. I mean, you name it. There's been quite a bit of pretty awesome companies.
Yeah, that's really neat. Can you remember, I guess, maybe does one particular engagement kind of stand out in your mind or project?
Oh yeah, a couple actually do. One of the things I'm most proud of is actually I designed the very first plastic beer bottle for Coors. When the brands were trying to transition into staying in a bottle, but being sold in stadiums and on beaches, things like that, they wanted a glass option, and plastic bottles started becoming a trend. And so we competed against several agencies around the country, and they chose my bottle design for the very first rendition of their plastic beer bottle. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think another one was working on Colorado Academy, rebranding the school, redesigning their mascot and all their marketing materials. It was a fantastic experience, and my work will be on campus for years to come, hopefully.
Yeah, really neat. And I know it's I know it can be kind of draining to be kind of creative on demand. How do you recharge your creative batteries? Well,
yeah, it's interesting. My wife often brings up, I don't know how, she says, I don't know how you can design every day and come up with something different and new. And I honestly don't know why that is either. I guess that's why some of us are designers and others are photographers and, engineers. Like, your mind just works like a machine with what you're passionate about, I guess. But the way I recharge is I step away from my computer. I've got to get away from it and get outside and go fishing, or go mountain biking, enjoy Colorado in one way or another. But really, it's really escaping completely from thinking about projects and creativity. And then you come back, you're super, refreshed and excited to get back into it.
Yeah, very neat. Yeah, I always find that when I'm at the gym or fishing or doing something, I get great ideas. So I try to do a little bit more of that than I probably think I should.
Right. Exactly.
So another interesting fact that folks may not know about it is the rumor is you were a pretty good wrestler back in the day. You want to tell folks a little bit about your wrestling career?
Oh, that's so funny. I thought for sure Steve Maldonado might have been the one to tell you that tidbit.
No, it was LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Good old LinkedIn. Well, yeah, I wrestled for 7 years in my childhood years, and summer, winter. It was a big deal for me. It was life changing and really, I think, molded me. But yeah, this is funny, going blast from the past here. I loved it. Loved the sport. When I was in middle school, I weighed 65 pounds, and I was standing in the lunch line, and the principal and the vice principal came up to me and said, "Have you ever considered wrestling?" And I was like, I didn't even know what it was. And because I was so small, they were actually trying to find a 65 pounder for the wrestling. So that's how it all started, was in 7th grade. And from there, I just got real passionate about it. And I did it every year, into my freshman year of college for summer, winter. It was an ongoing thing. I ended up becoming an undefeated state high school wrestling champion at 105. And I was ninth in the nation in freestyle wrestling at, I believe, 98 pounds the summer before that. And I made the college team as a freshman, only weighing 117 pounds. But, you know, this was a defining moment for me, believe it or not. I had the choice of, you know, taking athletic scholarships or art scholarships. And I really knew that my path was art. But, you know, I had to listen to my family and coaches and friends. And, you know, I listened to a lot of people, just the debate of whether I should go to art school or whether I should go take this 4-year full ride scholarship to Western State. And after pondering it for a good long time, I decided to take the full ride. And I was there for about 4 months, training and going to school, and made the team as a freshman and decided that I was done. And I walked away from it completely. And I came to Denver, started art school, and have had a great 32-year career from that one choice. And it really was my defining moment. But it was difficult walking away from the sport, and I hadn't wrestled since. Yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah, it's amazing. I think you and I were talking before we started recording, and you know, back in the day, I had one of my really good friends in high school. You know, got his letter freshman year in high school because he was probably the only kid in the school that could wrestle at 98 pounds. So yeah,
they're hard to come by.
Yeah, and
little guys.
And my oldest son was super skinny like that, and I tried to get him. They've bumped the classes up now, so the lightest class, at least here in my part of the world, is 105, and he wouldn't have any part of it. But so it goes.
Right. I had 2 boys also, and yeah, neither one of them were like interested in sports, not at all.
Yeah,
both creative, both very, you know, good at creating and, you know, sculpting and drawing and painting and like everything. They definitely took on the art role, but nothing to do with sports at all.
Yeah, it's interesting. And, you know, and shifting gears a little bit back to fly fishing, you know, like I said, I think I met you in Denver, either at the IFTD show or maybe at one of the consumer shows. And at that time, you had just brought the fly trap to market. And I was really kind of curious, you know, where the idea for the product came from and what kind of maybe fishing problems you were trying to solve with it.
Sure. Well, you know, there was a myriad of frustrations with learning how to fly fish and learning how to get organized. And it was a constant battle for me, and it's a constant battle for everyone. And, you know, I'm in Wyoming fishing the Platte with my brother, and I'm just like, there has got to be a better way to do this. Like, this is so frustrating and like so unorganized. And, you know, I can't be efficient when I have to get into my bag every time I need one fly, or to even ditch a fly or a rig that's not working out, you know, a busted head, or a broken hook. Just, there was no place to put these things. And I had to shuffle in and out of my bag every single time. That was my first big, I guess you could say, epiphany of trying to change things. And so the fly trap really just first evolved as a piece of rubber and a piece of paracord to just simply put flies on that didn't work. And I toyed around with names, even I was going to consider calling it the Ditch It. You know, just to put all your junk on, because you still have to put them somewhere. And just that one step alone could save a ton of time. And one thing led to another. I made a few of them. I gave them to my cousin and my brother and some friends and said, use this today on the river, and this is how you use it. And let me know if anything falls off here when you when you're done at the end of the day. And that's really how the fly trap evolved. But, it was a good experience. It worked out for them, and they're like, yeah, you could probably sell this to make it marketable. That's really where it all started.
So, you go from the Platte River. How long did it take you from the kind of friends and family prototypes to bring it to market?
Oh, geez. We made them by hand for the first couple of years. And, I was limited to what I could actually get that was already made or shaped or formed without having to pay for tooling and things like that. So we made a lot of them by hand. I mean, we're talking thousands by hand. And they worked. They were the greatest quality, but they got the job done. And so I'd say probably 2.5 years. And then I was like, okay, this is working out. People are liking this. We need to, look into manufacturing, and I need to get a little more serious about the design and make them more efficient and better quality. And so by year 3, 4, 5, the product had really advanced and evolved.
Yeah. And so, just to kind of, for folks that aren't familiar, with the product, you want to kind of, and we'll talk about the XLT Pro in a second, but just kind of talk to people about what that kind of initial fly trap that you brought to market, kind of what it looked like and what it did.
Sure. Yeah. So, I got all these pieces and parts that I could assemble, and, made it basically a minimalist approach to holding, flies and tools at first. And then it became it evolved into holding flies, tools, and tippet. So it started out as just holding flies, evolved into being able to hold really just everything with a minimalist approach. And I think things are still going that way. People are tired of carrying around a lot of stuff, they're tired of having a lot of stuff dangling. And a lot of people are even tired of carrying packs. So this really helps all of that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think I know I've got one of the early generation ones, and I mean, the way I have it is I sort of have a love-hate relationship with my sling pack. and I generally don't like to have things on my chest because inevitably my fly line gets caught in it. And so I actually have mine on the back of my sling on a gear keeper, and I have a Monomaster on the tool part, and then I have all my tippet, and then I have my flies, and I can just kind of reach back behind me on my hip and pull it forward and get what I need, and then just put it back.
Yeah. A lot of people do that. I've gotten accustomed to having mine in the front, but I tell you, that's the beauty of this thing is it's so versatile. You can put it anywhere. You can put it on backpack straps, sling packs, hip packs, waist packs, chest packs. And you could even put it on a lanyard if you choose to, but it's just that versatile, and that's what we like to stress is the versatility and what it actually does. It's pretty amazing if you give it a chance.
Yeah, and I got to reconnect with you at the fly fishing show in Denver. I don't know, probably 4 or 6 weeks ago, and found out that the fly trap had now evolved into the XLT Pro model. And you want to let folks kind of know kind of the improvements and the refinements. Cause I mean, I could tell right away, when I saw it that you'd made some significant upgrades.
Yeah. We finally got to a point where we could invest some money back into the company and make some drastic changes, mostly durability changes. I had a hook on there before that the plastic was, people were still struggling with getting the hook head off and on to interchange the cylinders. I had to take a lot of things into consideration, even though I really liked the initial design. It was a struggle for some people to use, and I needed to simplify that first and foremost. So I ran a 400-pound test utility cord from top to bottom that now goes through the entire core of the fly trap and connects to two no-fail carabiners. So these don't have these little metal things that fail and your carabiner ends up being, worthless. These are no-fail carabiners, and the silicone cylinder hasn't changed. It's still there's secrets to it that make it work exceptionally well when holding a hook. And I can't reveal those secrets, but that has not changed. And so it's super durable. It's way more flexible than it was, and virtually indestructible. Still holds flies, dozens of flies, several tools, tippet, or an extra cylinder, or even our new cylinder, which is the 6-rig cylinder. And so it's evolved into even a more versatile tool.
Yeah, and I think it's really neat too, because the new cylinder, I think your brother showed me in Denver, you can actually like hook 2 fly rigs to it and just wrap the tippet around it, and you're like ready to go.
Yeah, so it's got 6 grooves in it, and you can put double fly dropper rigs that you pre-tie before you get to the river. If you know what's hatching at a certain time, what works really well on a river at a certain time of day or whatnot, what you've had great luck with certain combinations, hopper droppers, things like that. If you know what, works, you can pre-tie that stuff in front of your television and have it ready to roll on the river and save yourself, so much rigging time on the water. And that you can slip that right on your XLT Pro Series, and now you have an arsenal of flies and pre-tied rigs, and you're not digging in your bag for hours.
Yeah, and the great thing too is you can buy multiple sleeves, and you can set it up for different fishing situations, and you're even more prepared, right?
Yes, absolutely. I have a little trick that I do. There's always a pocket in the front of your waders, and that pocket, it's annoying if you have a lot of bulk in there. But how I eliminate the bulk is I actually have a waterproof small laptop bag that I put probably 20 cylinders full of flies, everything from organized with streamers and worms and dry and midges and larvae, just everything. They're all in there in the pack, nice and flat, not bulky at all. And I just pull whatever out and interchange, and I'm ready to go for another hour or two.
Yeah, that's really cool. And, not surprisingly, Phil, the industry noticed, and you guys have won some awards. You want to let folks know about those?
Yeah. So in 2020, we were noticed at the IFTD and in Denver, and the Outdoor Canada magazine, one of the editors was roaming the show, and came up and just started asking questions. And I didn't really know what it was all about, but I thought he was just another buyer. And he then later came the next day and says, I'm going to submit your product for our gear guide, and we'll let you know if you won. And I'm like, sweet. So I'd say 6 months later, I get an email saying that we won Best Organizer in the Gear Guide in 2020 for Outdoor Canada magazine, which is super, super exciting and a very big deal in my opinion. We worked hard, evolving and improving the products to make them, just indestructible and a way for everybody to experience fishing without the frustration.
Yeah, and it's a huge deal too, because I think, people don't really understand, how hard it is for a small manufacturer to get a product and get scale and get out into the market. Yeah,
it's super, super hard. I mean, we all have these dreams of, man, somebody should invent this, or somebody should invent that, and somebody should do this, and somebody should do that. Well, I had an arsenal of experience that helped me get there. From my design days and my marketing and advertising days, I used all that to my advantage to help me with the product design and some of the engineering and 3D design, and getting other people involved in the process was vital too. I certainly couldn't have done this on my own, but my factories helped out a lot, involving things and, refining the tooling and things like that. But it's a big process, and people underestimate it. And, it's thought that this is a great idea and somebody should invent this. But if every one of those people kind of realized what it took to get something just to be on a shelf, it's quite a bit. So we're pretty proud of where we've come or how far we've come and where we are now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something, to your point, to go from idea to side hustle to kind of a real thing, and the whole time you've got another job.
That's right. That's right. But it's great because they're all my passions, and I love designing, and there's never a dull moment, whether I'm at my computer or on the river and trying to figure out my next big thing. But our whole MO for Artisan Angler has been helping you rig up faster and making your time on the water more efficient. The money you spend on your tools, fly fishing is so expensive, and I didn't want tools that were so expensive, and I wanted tools that everybody could use, from beginners to experts. And I think we're evolving into so much more than just a fly trap. So we're on our way to having a well-rounded line of products that really help you on the water and eliminate some of that frustration with rigging and organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, again, when I saw you in Denver, you've got a new product called Magnifly. And I thought it was a really interesting, we've all seen like flip down, magnifiers and all that sort of stuff, but this was a really interesting kind of evolution on that idea. And I was really kind of curious about, how you came up with the idea and kind of what problem you were trying to solve for folks.
Yeah. So, all of my ideas come from my own needs, and then I branch out and ask, my fellow anglers, hey, would you use this thing? And people I could trust before I got anything to market. And I would give them my reasoning, and, that's how I would start the process of developing a product. And the Magnifly came about because I was just so frustrated with the flip down bifocals, and not so much frustrated because they didn't work. They worked pretty well. I just wanted something that was more streamlined. I wanted something that didn't make me look like I was, blind as a bat, basically. And, wearing bifocals isn't the most attractive thing on your hat. And a lot of people don't want to have that stigma, right? So I wanted something more sleek, more, more appealing to the younger guys that won't admit they can't see very well, but a little more inconspicuous, basically, with what it was. And I love the idea of magnifier, and started messing around with clips and size of lenses and strength of lenses and magnets, and how can I make this one little thing useful anywhere. So it evolved rather quickly, and we made it so that you can clip it on your hat, on your chest pack, on your wader straps, on backpack straps, really anywhere that is, good for your own vision and your own eye strength.
Yeah, very neat. And I mean, it's a really, really neat product. And I haven't had the chance to get out as much as I want to, but I'm one of those people who wholeheartedly admit that I need a little bit of help tying on the small stuff. And, the great thing is I've lost several pairs of clicks on the river by like taking my pack off, and I'm looking forward to giving it a try on the river.
Yeah, it's super versatile. I think you're going to like it. Some people have to get used to using a magnifier because they're strong, right? Magnifiers are super strong, and you got to find just that right location, whether it's, like I said, on your hat or your straps or your waders. Find that perfect location where it works for you, and give it a little bit of time. You have to get used to a magnifier. It's certainly not like prescription glasses that it's an instantaneous thing. It takes a little getting used to, but once you do, it's like muscle memory, and it's fantastic. I use mine on my hat, and much like the fly trap, I don't know what I did before I had it, and I hated everything before I know that, and now I can't imagine doing anything without my Magnifly or my fly trap. They're just so handy and useful and time efficient. It also has two magnets on it that hold your on deck flies, which once you figure out what's hitting, you lose one, you just reach right up and pull it off of your magnet, your on deck fly, and your rigging. So another convenient little add-on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that you're in the process at Artisan Angler of kind of building out an entire array of tools. Do you have any projects that you're working on you want to share with our listeners?
Yes and no.
Fair enough.
No, I do have, there's some people that just won't, they won't, they can't wrap their head around the fly trap for one reason or another. And I get that. So I've got to appeal to some of those guys too and figure out how to make a product that's super effective, that's better than what's out there on the market in one category. And, just go after, what I think is using my material and our design expertise, and develop my next product will be right in line with everything else I do, but hopefully better in several ways than what's out there, and last longer. It's just so disheartening for people to have products out there that they just fail over time, and there's no guarantee. But with our products, a lot of people don't realize this, but they're guaranteed for the life of the product. If something fails on it, manufacturer defects, we'll replace it, no question.
Yeah, very neat. And you want to let folks know, kind of where you are on the kind of the retail front, and then I also know you're online as well.
Yeah, so we're actually all over the U.S. So I would recommend checking with your local fly shop first. I support local shops. I mean, they help me get where I am, and there's a lot of love there and respect. So certainly shop local. Call your fly shop and say, hey, do you carry the Artisan Angler stuff, the fly trap or Magnifly? We are in several countries, believe it or not, and doing pretty well in Canada. So as far as specific shops, I don't have any other than, they're just scattered all over. I'm distributed by Hairline Gubbin. And I have a link tree, which will take you to all the places you can buy right there from a link. And that's linktr.ee/Artisan Angler. And that one link will take you to my Amazon pages, and all of my stuff ships free, I believe, 1 day with Amazon Prime. So that's a pretty awesome deal for, wanting something that maybe your local shop doesn't have. It's unfortunate that I'm not in every single shop.
It'll happen.
and it could happen, right? But it's one of those frustrating things. It's like, how do you get people to see the passion for your product the way you do, right? And if they can only see the anglers that just flood me with, testimonial after testimonial and guides that just love it and say it's their most used tool that they have other than their fly rod, that's pretty awesome deal. And people swear by it once they get used to it. You have to evolve, and I get it. Some of these shops, they don't want to evolve with their products, and I get it. It's not for everybody. So got to keep trying and get to those people that are willing to make big changes.
Yeah, there you go. And I'll drop that Linktree link in the show notes. And, I know you're on social. You want to kind of let folks know, website address and where to follow you on Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of good stuff.
Sure. My Instagram is @FlyTrapFlyholder. That will eventually change to Artisan Angler. And on Facebook, I am Flytrap Pro Series. My new website is going to be artisananglerllc.com, which is coming soon. Probably within a week or two, that site will be done. And, I'm pretty easy to find on social media, and all of my contact information is out there. So if you currently have any product that you have questions on or need to upgrade or interchange cylinders, things like that, hit me up and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll drop all that stuff in the show notes.
Excellent. Thank you.
You bet. And listen, Phil, I really appreciate you spending some time with me, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in a few weeks in Salt Lake City.
Me too. I owe you a beer too, and let's hang out and have some fun. And I want to thank you too for supporting small business and supporting little guys like me, and helping us take an extra step towards helping everybody have a better time fishing.
Yeah,
fly fishing.
Absolutely. It's absolutely my pleasure. And it's been I really enjoyed our conversation this evening. Have a good one, Phil.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Again, if you like the podcast, please tell a friend, and please subscribe and leave us a rating and review in the podcatcher of your choice. Tight lines, everybody.